In most modern languages, a plus sign might not mean addition, and a closing brace, that innocent little curly bracket, might silently run cleanup code you never wrote, in an order you can't see, at a moment you didn't choose. Zig makes a different bet. In Zig, a plus sign is always just a plus sign, and cleanup is never invisible. That refusal costs something real. Here's the case for making it anyway, and the exact price you pay. 2 refusals. That's the whole foundation. Refusal 1, no operator overloading. Refusal 2, no hidden cleanup. They sound like limitations. By the end, you'll see they're the same bet made twice. The bet that reading a line of code should tell you what that line of code does. Nothing more hiding underneath. Let's name the first one. Operator overloading is the feature that lets you redefine what a symbol means for your own types. In C++, in Python, in Rust, you can teach the plus sign to do whatever you want when it sees 2 of your objects. Sounds elegant. You write a vector type, and then you get to write a plus b, and it just works, like math. Zig refuses, flatly. In Zig, the plus operator cannot be redefined for any type. There is no exception, no trait, no escape hatch. If you want to add 2 vectors, you call a function, by name. So here's the cost, stated honestly. Types like vectors, matrices, complex numbers, the things that genuinely read better as math, cannot use math syntax. You call vec3.add every single time. For people doing heavy numerical work, that's not nothing. It's friction on every line. Now the gain, and this is the part that matters. In Zig, a line with a plus in it can only be addition. It cannot secretly be a function call. It cannot secretly allocate memory on the heap. It cannot secretly throw an exception. When you scan a function and your eye passes over an arithmetic expression, you already know the full cost of that line because the language guaranteed the symbol couldn't be hiding anything. In a language with overloading, a plus b might be a network call. You have to go check. In Zig, you never have to check. That's the trade. Expressiveness, for the certainty that the obvious reading is the only reading. Refusal 2 is the closing brace. In C++, when an object goes out of scope, its destructor runs automatically. Rust does the same thing with its drop trait. You open a function, you allocate some things, and when execution reaches the closing brace, cleanup code fires for every object in reverse order without a single visible line telling you it happened. Most of the time, that's convenient. Right up until the moment it isn't. When the order of destruction matters, when a destructor does something expensive, when cleanup runs on a path you didn't expect. Then you're debugging code that isn't written down anywhere. Zig has no automatic destructors. None. Nothing runs at the closing brace that you didn't put there yourself. Instead, Zig gives you defer. Look at where the cleanup lives. You allocate a buffer on one line. On the very next line, you write allocator.free, the exact undo of what you just did, sitting right beside it, not hidden in a destructor 3 files away, not implied by a type. Written, visible, in the exact spot you're already reading. And defer runs when the scope exits, in reverse order, so it behaves like a destructor when you want it to. The difference is that every single cleanup action is a line of code you can see and count. There is no invisible work at the brace, because in Zig, the brace does nothing on its own. The refusal is the same as before, wearing different clothes. No hidden function calls behind a symbol, no hidden cleanup behind a brace. What you read is what runs. If these teardowns are worth your time, this channel is supported on Patreon. That's what keeps them independent. Back to the code, because there's a third place this same idea shows up, and it's the cleanest example of all. Here's a question you cannot answer in most languages by looking at a function signature. Does this function touch the heap? Does it allocate memory? Does it call malloc, new, spin up a garbage collected object? In C++, in Java, in Go, in Python, you cannot know from the header. You have to read the body, and the bodies of the functions it calls, and so on. Down. In Zig, memory allocation isn't ambient. There is no global new. If a function needs to allocate, it takes an allocator as an explicit parameter. Read the header. fn create list takes an allocator of type std.mem.Allocator, returns a list, and the exclamation mark says it can fail. That signature is a confession. It tells you, before you read a single line of the body, that this function allocates. It has to. You handed it the tool to do it. A function that doesn't take an allocator cannot secretly allocate, because it has nothing to allocate with. And notice the through line from the last chapter. Because the allocator gets passed in explicitly, you also decide how the memory gets cleaned up. You pair it with a defer list.dinit, right where you can see it. The header tells you it allocates. The defer tells you it frees. You know the entire memory story of this function from the outside. No archaeology, no grep. You read the header, and you know everything. Now let's be fair to the other side, because this is a trade, not a verdict. C++ and most modern languages optimize for one thing above all: developer convenience. Less code on the screen, less ceremony. Fewer characters between the idea in your head and the program that runs. Operator overloading lets your math look like math. Automatic destructors mean you never forget to clean up. Ambient allocation means you never thread a parameter through 5 layers just to make one array. That is genuinely nice. Millions of shipped programs are better for it. This is not a mistake other languages made. It's a choice, and often the right one. But every one of those conveniences works by moving behavior out of sight. The plus hides a function. The brace hides cleanup. The new hides an allocation. The code gets shorter, and in exchange, some of what it does stops being visible on the page. Zig inverts the bet. It accepts more ceremony, more explicit function calls, more visible defers, more allocators threaded through signatures in exchange for one property. Zero surprises. Nothing runs that you didn't write. Nothing hides behind a symbol. Which bet is correct depends entirely on what you're building. Prototyping fast, moving loose, the convenience wins. Writing a database, an operating system, an allocator that 1,000 other programs depend on, code where a hidden behavior is a hidden bug at 3 in the morning. Then Zig's refusal stops looking like stubbornness and starts looking like the whole point. And it's worth admitting, writing Zig can feel tedious at first. You'll miss a plus B, you'll get tired of typing defer. You'll thread an allocator through a function and wonder why the language won't just do it for you. That friction is not an accident. And it's not the language being unfinished. It's the price, charged up front, on purpose. Because the two refusals were never really about operators or destructors. They're about a single promise, that the code on your screen is the whole truth. That you never have to hold a second invisible program in your head, the one made of overloaded symbols and silent cleanup, while trying to reason about the visible one. Every language decides how much it's willing to hide from you to feel pleasant. Zig decided nothing. These two refusals are the floor. They're the foundation everything else in Zig is built on top of. But refusing things is only half the design. The obvious question is what Zig hands you in return for all that ceremony, and the answer is a feature called comptime, the piece that pays the whole bill back. The video that ties this entire investigation together goes straight from here into exactly that. It's called the 580-line language that broke Node, and it's already up on this channel. That's the one to watch next. A plus sign is just a plus sign. Start there, and the rest of the language makes sense.